Welcome everybody to the architecture meeting for March 30th. I put a pull request out there in the Ortelius Python client repo. Basically what I've done is I've renamed the repo to make it clear with the imported stuff coming over, and I refactor the code in there to make it easier for us to use in our microservices. One of the things when I was doing that, I ran into an issue, and let me kind of share my screen. I'll show what we're running into. So one of the things that we have, this is our new architecture diagram. All the ones in the middle here, the blue boxes, are the microservices, and they're going to be talking to the database abstraction layer. This connection here between the microservice and the database abstraction layer is basically right now it's a Python function call that we make. So it's not really like another microservice that we need to call. Now, one of the things when I was running through the test cases that Utkarsh set up, that every time we have an object, let's say the name of a component or a user, every time we have that, we go through and make a call over to the back end piece, over to the NFT storage. And right now we're doing that in order to get the SID, which is how the NFT and IPFS does its addressing. So the SID is basically a fancy hash of the content of what you put in as a part of your file. So what that allows us to do is you use that SID to pull things back and forth from the NFT storage. Now, because every time we have a new object, we go through it and make that call, it ends up being really slow. So one of the things I was able to find is that NFT storage and the IPFS can handle is what they call a content archive format, or a content addressable archive. And basically, like it says here, you can think of it as a tar file. So what I'm thinking is we can, and one of the benefits, if we go down to the benefits here, one other thing we could do is we could actually calculate the SID, the content identifier, on our own ahead of time, and kind of go through this whole process of taking the object that we want to store, this big long JSON thing, all the SBOM data, all the license information, that whole big thing can be pre-calculated with all the SIDs and kind of reformatted into the right structure. And then instead of doing multiple transactions over to the NFT storage, that we can create this content archive and just send it over there once to update the NFT storage. So two things that will happen when we go about this process is we only be doing one call, and we can go up to 100 megabytes, and I don't think we'll have any of our data that we're pushing over that's going to be over 100 megabytes in a single call. And then also we're going to only have one transaction instead of multiple transactions, which is going to help with the speed going back and forth between the NFT storage and our application. So so that's one thing I found that that will help us on that front at this database abstraction layer that we have here. That the database abstraction layer would be actually working with when it needs to go call out to NFT storage, it would basically creating the car file or basically the car blob and passing it over when we do the upload or the save to the NFT storage. Now, one of the problems I ran into when we're looking at these the car files is they have a Node.js packages that allow us to go ahead and interact and create the correct formatted file and stuff like that. And also they have a Golang, but they don't have a Python one. So right now the microservices that we're thinking of, we're going to be in Python to just under fast API to make things easy for folks to kind of get up and going on the microservices. Now, what we can do, because there's not a Python library, we kind of have a couple options. The spec is out there, so we can actually write the Python library ourselves to create the car file based on the Golang and the Node.js as examples. So basically translate those over to the Python version. The other thing that we can do is at the database abstraction layer, when we go to work with NFT storage, we actually insert, instead of working directly from the database abstraction layer to the NFT storage, that we actually wrapper this in a microservice. And that microservice would be either a Golang or a Node.js microservice that will create the car file and do the upload at that level. So that's like option one is write our own Python library. Option two is wrapper the NFT storage with the microservice. And option three is to change the microservices from Python over to Golang. All the microservices, none of them have been written yet, so it's not like we're losing anything. But option three would be to write each microservice's Golang with the database abstraction layer in Golang as well. And because Golang has that car module, we can then have the database abstraction write directly to the NFT storage. So that was one of the things I found basically yesterday, that we kind of have to figure out how we want to proceed, so I can kind of like generate the templates of all these microservices for folks to start working on. So those are kind of like our three options, and just want to get everybody's feedback on that. Any thoughts?
I like Go because I really want to learn Go. And Kubernetes is written in Go. So if you want to create your own operator or if we ever need to customize Kubernetes for Ortelius, then we already have that knowledge. So you're kind of knocking two birds with one stone kind of thing, right? If we're all learning Go, it's very versatile language, it's very current language. I think you can pretty much write anything with it, right? I don't know enough.
Yeah, it's pretty popular now, and it is a compiled language versus Python that's interpreted. And when it's a compiled language, it does give us some benefits at the execution time. It's faster. The microservices, right now our Python microservices use fast API to do to be basically the RESTful API server. Go has a thing called Fiber. Node.js has one called Express.js. So that's the fourth option. Sorry. So we could leave the microservices in Python, and just like I said, do something on the back end. We can change the microservices over to Golang and use Fiber as the web framework. Or we can change them over to Node.js and use Express.js as the web framework there. So we do have four options, because on the back end, if we go everything Node.js, the database abstraction layer and the NFT storage can be all done through Node.js, because those modules exist there. Now, also, now you mentioned, Sasha, like Kubernetes be written in Go. I think the Embrace project, most of their stuff has been done in Go. So like you said, it may be a good time to switch over to Go at that level.
Yeah, geez, I'm really not an expert in this area at all, but I was
I
just
know.
thinking out loud. I was like, okay, so we run everything microservices, and Kubernetes is all in Go. If Go is supporting what you just explained now about IPFS, and now you just said that what's it, Emporis is written in Go. It kind of makes sense, right? You kind of want to reduce as much overhead of languages you have to manage or piece together, right? But it also has to meet the use case, I guess, in the end, right?
Yeah, and I think from a use case perspective, because we're so early on, and we're not gonna miss a lot of stuff, put it that way. I have to check, and I would imagine Arango has
but it's worth an investigation, right?
Yeah, we can.
How compatible Go is, and how much of a heavy lift that would be to use Go. With it being it's quite new, right? Still quite. It's in technology terms still quite newish. Or was it kind of old? I never know.
Yeah, it looks like there's a Go driver for Arango, so that's not going to be.
Oh, that's cool.
Which I would imagine there would be.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah, that it can connect to the database. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that's a great one.
So then there's.
It would probably make the Emporis guys really happy, because it would make it easier for them, right, to integrate.
Yeah. We'd all, like you said, we'd be all talking a common language instead of a mix.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the one I wanted to look at? Oh, Go. Let's see. So this is basically the hello world for Go, using the Fiber setup. So it's very similar to,
right? You said it was a framework. Okay, I don't know anything about it. I'd have to kind of look at that term.
Yeah, what it does is it just saves you a lot of implementing all the low level stuff.
Okay, like a framework like Spring Boot, for example, for Java.
Exactly.
Okay, I get it. Okay, that makes sense.
So here's, like in our example here, you set up your routes, and then you basically, these are just function calls that you make. This one's not very good. There's a Fiber.
Sportswagen. I see there's a Go implementation called Kubo, Kubo for IPFS for developers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
I'll
see
share it with,
here.
I don't know, I just found this now. Let's put it in the chat there.
So I think because you can, one of the things I was worried about when we would move from Python over from Fast API over to another framework is one of the nice things with the Fast API, it automatically generates your Swagger file.
Oh, okay.
And there is a way to annotate your Golang so you get the same thing out of it.
Is it a bit more of heavy lifting or what?
It's not too bad. Let's see here if this one. I found it last night. I had to look again. I just was like looking really quick on what it looks like. But basically the way you structure everything is pretty simple. Start building. Let's try that.
Oh, there, building a basic REST API. You go using Fiverr.
So you got your directory structure. Yeah. So basically this is like their hello world. Basically what you do is you set up your routes that you wanted to look at. And then from there, that's all you have to do. You know, it's pretty, which is very similar to the
It's kind of similar to
what
the
we have.
Python. Yeah.
Yeah,
Every time
Python's
I've
the
seen,
same way.
yeah, every time I've seen Go, it always looks really neat and clean, and it's not just doesn't it looks very like, yeah, it's like clean, like easy code to kind of write. Well, I'm not saying it's easy, but it just looks minimal, right? Like what you need to get something going.
Yeah, and it's going to be the same way as Python, where you import
Oh
what
yeah,
you're
you
looking
import.
for.
Ah, yeah,
Then
there's your
you do
function.
your function calls in main and how you got everything going. So um,
Oh, there's a lot of similarity in that sense, it seems.
and then it does have the concept of structures. So in Python they have classes.
Oh, yeah,
In Go they're called structures.
okay. So you just have to switch that
So
terminology from class to structure, but it's kind of similar thing.
yep.
Okay. Add the roots, package router import. Yeah.
And you have your routes and things like that at that level. So like here, yeah, here's the routes. Basically these are just fall through methods, functions that it's going, but you can do your post get and all that stuff with all your routes and get routed over the right function and things like that. So but that's kind of what going on that front at that level. So that was
How do
one
you
of the
feel, Steve?
things.
What do you feel?
I'm torn. I really don't know yet. Because we will have to do a little bit of work that Utkarsh did on the Python module, but we can take his logic and transpose it over Golang pretty quick. So it's not like we did a lot of work that's going to be a throwaway, but we will need to redo a little bit of it. But like I said, we're early on, and I think the amount of time that it would take to rewrite Utkarsh's transformation, his transpose methods would be quicker than us writing a Python module for car.
And do you think with Go, I mean, obviously I'd love to hear Utkarsh's opinion, right? Because I mean, he knows, he's like a code master. I'm definitely not a code master. I'm still a beginner compared to you guys. But would Go minimize the amount of Python code of Woodcash's code if when you translate it? Would it reduce the amount of code in any way? Would it make it more streamlined? Would it make it faster? Would there be greater benefits?
Yeah. So what we would do is we would replace Utkarsh's code with everything rewritten in Golang.
Would that give us
And so
performance benefits?
so we would basically abandon all the Python pieces. And some of the things I've read is Go is like almost 12 times faster than
12 times.
Python. Than
Wow.
Python Fast API.
Wow, that sounds
And
like quite a
like
radical performance gain.
Yeah, 5 times faster than Node.js.
Well, if that's the
Jeepers.
case, we should focus on that. Speed's going to be an issue for what we do,
I'm
right?
putting my hand up for Go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that should answer the question.
This is what I wanted to
That's why
understand,
we
right?
wrote so much.
Is it?
That's why
is it
we
gonna-
wrote so
Sorry
much
guys,
in
I have a
C.
call from office, so
Oh, okay.
All
No
right.
worries,
We'll
Simon.
see you.
Okay.
All right.
Cheers.
I have a call from
Yeah.
office. Okay,
Okay, no worries.
bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. So
that's
yeah,
what-
I think
that's what I wanted to understand, right? Does it reduce complexity and does it improve performance?
the complexity being a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, but you're always having to learn in this microservice as well as normal. You should get used to it
That's
now.
okay. I think the learning curve is something that we all can deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And
I
I'm so
think the
hungry to get
benefits.
into Go and learn.
Yeah, it doesn't
learn
allow
a
me to.
solid
I think
language. Oh, yeah, to
just
mute him.
Yeah, so I think it's a similar framework, so it's not going to be like moving to Rust. The Rust framework is just a nightmare.
Really?
And that's a
I have
super
no-
deep.
Oh, okay.
You'd want to go there. It is one of the most complicated languages.
Really?
To
Okay,
get your
I'll
head
steer
wrapped
clear.
around. Yeah. So realistically, we could do this in Node.js, but I haven't heard anybody saying, yes, I want to do it in Node.js.
Yeah.
It's like,
I've been dying to get into Go, so I don't want to like be biased, but because every time I see it, it looks clean, right? It looks so clean.
I think the transition from Python to Go is going to be easier than going from Python to Node.js.
Okay. Well, then kind of makes sense, right? You're getting performance improvements. It's less of a mental shift in terms of learning. And what else are you getting? Less complexity.
Now with both of these, the Swagger integration is a little messy. But I think that's something we can deal with, because I want to make sure that for these RESTful APIs, we are generating the Swagger file for folks to be able to use, because we're going to need that for the front end perspective.
Yeah. The front end needs to call those APIs, right? So that it can do whatever the person's requesting, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, let me do some more investigation and try to stand up a microservice and Go and see how things work.
Yeah, because you know what I'm going to do, Steve, when you do that? I'm always pulling the latest Helm chart that gets released into my Terraform little environment.
Yeah. Oh, that's
the cool thing
one of the
is
other
this-
benefits that I'm not sure about is how many vulnerabilities are in the Golang world.
True. It's going to be interesting, right?
Because it's a pretty popular language, I think we're gonna get things fixed pretty quick.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna have a bunch of stale issues out there that we need to deal with.
Do you think because it's a newer language, it might be even better from a security point of view?
Typically not, because people will cut corners when they're creating new stuff. So they won't create it as a secure.
And does it work like is it like, I'm kind of used to like Maven and dependencies and, that type of thing. Does it work similar like that? Are there like dependencies you can just add to, when you build it, or is it a completely different way of thinking?
I'm not sure, like in the Rust world, when you when you do your cargo build, which is how you build an executable in Rust, it
Yeah.
actually brings down every single piece of, it doesn't bring down source binaries. It actually
Yeah.
brings down the source code and compiles it at that point in time. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know. I think Go works the same way. When you go to build it, it goes and fetches the source every time. It still has something like a requirement file or some a package
okay.
file that
Yeah.
says this is what I'm going to use. That you have to keep bumping versions in that package file.
Okay.
But when you build, you're gonna, I think Go builds from source.
Okay. Okay. Would it make the microservices quicker to build? Is it because it's got reduced code? Does it make a smaller, I don't know, I'm trying to like a smaller container or something in that? Does it will it make our containers, will it make the container better performing if you were to write it compared to another language?
It'll make it better performing.
Okay.
Let me do a Docker poll. I can tell you how big it is.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. That's 188 meg, which
Wow.
isn't super
Sounds-
huge.
Sounds kind of minimal, kind of small. Okay. Cool.
And our Python one was 92 meg, so it's about double the size.
Oh, it is bigger. Okay.
But 188 meg is still pretty small for a container.
Yeah, that is still small. It's not, that's not too big to swallow, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, interesting, man. Cheapers. Okay. Yeah.
All right, well, let me do some invest a little more investigating, and I will reach back out to everybody on Slack and let them know. I mean, on Discord, letting them know what we're thinking about, and we'll see if there's any major objection.
Sheesh, yeah. It sounds really good to me to go the Go route from what we've discussed. No, but like I say, I'm not an expert. I'll let you and Utkarsh decide on that one.
Yeah, like you said, it's an opportunity for all of us to learn Go.
Yeah, and I really want to sink my teeth into Go. I really want to learn Go. Yeah, it's one of the next things on my hit list.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Let me do some more investigating. I'll let everybody know on Discord, and
Cool.
it sounds like we're leaning into this one pretty good. So
Yeah. Yeah.
all right, cool. That's what I needed
Cool.
to figure out for this architecture meeting today.
Yeah, no, it's actually a big call, right? Yeah. Choosing your language.
Yeah, we want to do it earlier than later.
I agree. Doing it later is going to be a nightmare to change, right? You want to do it from the word go the right way, as much as possible.
All right. Well, I'll talk
Cool,
to you guys
Steve.
later.
Cheers,
Thanks.
Tracy. Have a good day. Bye.
Cheers.